Welcome to the Vibrant Living Network. Have you ever wondered what is possible beyond possible? What is the thing you've been wondering and inquiring about? Are you just feeling stuck and don't know why? Are you thinking or are you seeing? Seeing allows us to expand and have this other experience. We want to invite you for that wake-up call. We want to invite your spirit, your soul, so to be more alive, more connected. Glenn Brooks has been a life coach for over 33 years, author of Divorced to Patterns, Not Each Other, an explorer of what is possible. He has worked with people all around the world. Join us for a wake-up conversation, a dialogue with you. We will have some of the most interesting contributors. We will be talking to some of the most interesting people and have some of the most resourceful teachers, wisdom-filled people from around the world join us. Share your voice, ask the questions, become free of the known into a new world of possibility. We are going to talk about all the things you wonder about: how to live, how to heal, how to connect, how to love, how to be seen. Your life is precious. Enjoy it.
Thank you. I'm Glenn Brooks. Welcome to the Vibrant Living Network. Welcome to Beyond the Formula. I want to share a quick story, and I want to say our Commander-in-Chief, to my right, she sits every week, Dr. Gail Randall, MD, innovator, pioneer in the field of nutrition and rejuvenative medicine, and also energy medicine. She's on a special visit. She does have a full-time practice. She'll be joining us next week. And also next week, we're going to release the dates on the course we'll be teaching together, which Healing Beyond Belief, how to release the belief, become aware and release belief from your bodies, your cells, perhaps your soul. And I want to open with a story. So first I want to welcome Sherry, the dog mystic. She's in the room right now, dog mystic, being in deep tune with your dog.
Hello. Good afternoon. Good morning.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Jen Rowe, whose beautiful business name I associate with so much color and imagery and wonder. Here I go, Red Hat Qigong.
Yay, he got it right.
I know. Thank you. No, it's like
so
a breath
proud
of relief.
Of you,
Thank you. You know, like almost like 48 hours of corrective imagery help. Thank you. Thank you all the people I had to hire for that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Welcome.
Anytime.
Hi,
Glenn. Yes,
Hi.
I'm Jennifer Rowe, and I am a Red Hat Qigong master practitioner. And I'm sure many of you are not aware of what Red Hat Qigong is, but I just wanted to share a little bit about it. It is a healing modality that dates back thousands and thousands of years. I like to describe it as a soul cleansing. You know, we as humans, we all carry traumas, fears, pain, grief, you know, the list goes on, and it is really the process of releasing what isn't serving us and then filling us with what does. I like to, oftentimes I compare it to what acupuncture does for the body, Qigong does for the soul. It allows our energetic system to flow. It brings us back to our natural state of being, and it connects us, you know, our mind, our body, and our soul. It is truly one of the most amazing healing modalities, and it's really about peeling back those layers that we carry and allowing ourselves to heal within. So it's a very beautiful process. But anyway, thanks for having me on the show. And I'm
you're deeply welcome. Deeply welcome. I want to say that in a little bit, upcoming, I'm going to share with you sort of behind the scenes, with Jen being a vibrant speaker, as we move our road to Carnegie Hill forward. I want to share with you how sometimes what we sort of either resist or push away is a doorway to a hidden message of expression. So I'm going to get into that. Or what I could tell you is, do you want to go to jail? We're going to explore that message. Do you want to go to jail? I love that. The hidden power of language sometimes you don't use. Okay. Lisa LaRose is with us. She's from another planet, but she's here on Earth taking care of a whole bunch of dogs and healing and helping people and making Pittsburgh a brighter place to be after 18 years of putting up with me and laughing with me, wondering who I am and what's going on. She's one of my executive producers, Lisa LaRose.
Thank you very much, Glenn. And I'm curious, what planet am I from today?
I don't know. I really don't know.
I hope it's somewhere. I hope is it in this galaxy?
Well, you told me you wanted a planet. What you told me was, I remember this, I was thinking, you were in a planet where, okay, I'm going to say Mercury retrograde doesn't exist. That's what I'm thinking the planet you was from.
Yeah, no,
Mercury retrograde doesn't exist.
Totally with that. Exactly. I'm
okay.
focusing on Jupiter and Saturn in conjunction and bringing in prosperity and abundance for all of us. So, that conjunction in the stars is definitely very powerful. So thank you for that warm welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome, everybody.
Welcome.
Just out of curiosity, Janet, are you there? Because you sent me a text, I don't know. Janet just wrote the beginning of a beautiful article about our road to the vibrant speakers at Carnegie Hall. She was beautiful, so I'm waiting to hear from Janet. She's with us. I want to just share an opening quick story that will set the tone for Beyond the Formula. And because in some ways, I never saw my grandmother stand up, ever. So I used to go see her, and she would be like, she'd basically be in bed, and all her bones are kind of crumpled up. And so I was around that. And my grandfather, who was like my favorite person on the planet, he had very bad diabetes. I didn't really know that. It's interesting. Years to come, I would work with Dr. Ron Rosedale, probably I would say the most foremost authority in the world on diabetes. And Ron ended the series. We did an 8-part series, and he says, Glenn, if you want to get diabetes, other than doing a few other things, if you go to the American Diabetes Association website, if you follow their diet, you will get diabetes. So, Beyond the Formula. Beyond the Formula. Ellen Lang wrote a book called Mindfulness, probably 15 years old approximately by now. And in that book, there's a story that I want to share with you. So the story is that as a researcher, she invited a group of 80 people to go to a monastery, who were 75 plus, and to spend 10 days there. The first 40 people were just supposed to go relax and have fun. That was it. Just really go there and have fun. And they're all 75 plus. And they go there. They check in, and all the accommodations are taken care of. It's an estate. They have access to beautiful land. And now the other 40 people, they had specific instructions. Okay. So the specific instructions were that the jukeboxes, the food, everything about where they were going to be staying at the monastery was going to be from 1953. So their promise was they had to speak as if it was 1953. They had to eat everything. 1953. They cannot talk about today's time, what date it is. Basically, 1953. And what they did is they did a biological markers. They tested to see what the markers were. And by day 5, they had significantly grown younger, which is the series of my next year with Dr. Norm Shealy, neurosurgeon and beloved family member. And so one of the things Norm said to me is, I tell you that story about them growing younger. I thought to myself, well, it's such a beautiful story because it shows you that environment and where we focus shifts our biology, changes our genes, and yet most of us go on track to an unconscious, there's sort of an unconsciousness of aging and our sense of aging. And so to go beyond the formula is to take on both new practices of unlearning and be willing to receive and move differently. So I wanted to start there as a Beyond the Formula thing. And then, so over the last, 25 years, I got very interested in this Beyond the Formula. And when I would talk to people around the world, I always wondered how people would arrive at, these Beyond the Formula things. And I thought about my dentist, who does not do crowns. He does not do a whole bunch of stuff that's invasive and breaks down the mouth. And he does something called biomimetic, which is do things by the laws of nature. So everybody's, that's really behind the formula. So a formula, when we go someplace, any place, we're around people who already are existing in a certain frame of reference. Like as an example, you see a person who's bent over or really, pulled. You think their posture's messed up. You'll say they're aged. They're being, they're an old person, but that's not true. What's true is they're a little bit, what's the word? It's basically what happens every time you get scared, deeply scared, you pull forward or pull back. It's called, I'm sorry, I got it now. It's the startle reflex. It's a startle reflex. When you exhale and you release, your body has a different structure, a different way of moving from. So I just want to say something briefly about the Vibrant Speaker event and educational course for all the people going to speak at Carnegie Hall before Janet gets here. Janet's my co-teacher in the course. We performed on stage. She has, in fact, performed at Carnegie Hall, Lincoln Center, all around the world, actually. She's a pretty renowned presenter. So we designed this course so for the next 8 months, I think it's 8 months, but 7 to 8 months, we're going to prepare you to give this talk at Carnegie Hall and prepare your body, your soul, and the wonder of your imagination to express something. And then some of you might want to write a book in conjunction with this. We're going to be working with some people we think are out of this world on writing vibrant books. You're a vibrant speaker. So we're putting up a website on this. So let's do this. Let's just go to Jen, because that seems like a fun place to go to, and this seems beyond the formula. So I said a few words I didn't need to. I want you to realize I am a professional speaker, and I do 12 ups, and I still get paid, by the way. All right. I was talking to Jen, as I usually do. I usually explore something in someone who wants to be a speaker, and I'm like, okay, red hat, Qigong. And I don't know how we ended up this way, but I must have asked Jen something. What did I ask you? Remember the conversation of what I asked you, what I said to you? I'm just wondering, help me open up the story here. You remember? How was our opening conversation?
When we were talking about, do you want to go to jail, or when we were talking about
before we got do you want to go to jail? What was the conversation before that? And by the way, no, thank you. No, before we got to do you want to go to jail? What did we speak about?
The Red Hat Qigong?
Yeah, we must have been talking about Red Hat Qigong and your message.
Well, and it's just funny because you always want to call it Green Forest. And then
yes, I do. Yeah.
I finally made the connection that you may be telepathic because my business card has a green forest on it. So you must be pulling that energy in.
Thank you.
But what we were talking about before we got into that was the energetics around the court system.
Is that at that time? Did you tell me you were probation officer?
Okay. So.
Yeah,
okay.
Go ahead.
If you want me to launch into this, I will launch into this.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
It's really super funny to me how this all came about. It was really a rather organic process. But Glenn and I were discussing the energetics behind the court system, and I shared with him how in another lifetime of mine, I actually worked with juveniles in the courts and had many roles when I worked for the state of Colorado, but one of them was as a probation officer. And he got a real kick out of this one. And it was like, yeah, I know, probation officer turned energy healer. Let me think about that. Anyway, that's a whole other story in itself. But whenever I say it or I think it for some reason, I feel like it should be on a headline somewhere. Anyway, I was, sharing some of the observations that I used to make about people in the courts and how there were times that, I'd want to walk up and ask an individual who's there for whatever reason, like, seriously, do you want to go to jail? And Glenn thought this was hilarious.
Yes. I still do. I just did it again. Yeah.
And he came back to me with this idea of, no, Jen, do you want to go to jail? This is something that you could turn into a talk and really use your experience and open this doorway. And, it's really interesting because when he first was saying it, I just felt all this resistance towards it. And I really have to admit, I didn't like it at all. And and he continued to mention it. So I decided to, sit down and think about, like, what this exactly meant for me and why I was having all this resistance around this. And it's funny because sometimes when I do this, I like to sit down and write. And just my thoughts started to flow. And I ended up calling Glenn back, and was honest with him that, what's really funny is that after really sitting down and thinking about it, I realized that it made me uncomfortable because, and all this resistance I was experiencing was because I felt embarrassed or almost ashamed for being a probation officer at one time and didn't want to put that out to the world. And the other interesting piece is, again, once I started sitting and writing about this resistance, the metaphor really hit me because there really are so many wonderful things that I did while working in the system and working and helping people. And I realized that it was a stepping stone. It was a catalyst for me to really dive deeper into my work. But it's really funny and really striking that how our thoughts or how our belief systems or whatever our baggage may be, whether you're in the court system or just, in this life, but how they can really lock you up and put you behind bars. And when you think about it, it's really a profound metaphor. And I was going to say too that, since I've been running with this and, how I want to present it, I'm not exactly sure what direction it's going to go, but I've just realized that it's brought up a lot of self-realization and how I've been, guilty of putting myself behind bars in this lifetime and how there really is no reason to do so, as it's a very limiting thing to do. And as much work as we think we have done, there is always something else that can rise to the surface. And I really love how I can tie all of this into Red Hat Qigong and what I do, because it's really about breaking those walls down, breaking those barriers, breaking those, thoughts that we carry and we have in our mind about ourselves. So, once that's broken down, how our light can shine through. So, yeah.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I want to go to Sherry and Lisa, but so this is what I call a lateral, or a paradoxical moment. So a lateral meaning that you could see in the situation, Jennifer kind of went beyond her usual thinking, her linear thinking, and she went to another part of the forest, another part of the, and what was interesting is she has, I would call it a release, where she starts to see, she gets into an open awareness. And you see, this is, so why people, because I work with people around the world who want to speak and move and breathe, and often they have tremendous fears. And so what they do is they script their talks, and they become more dead. So my whole mission is how do we unscript, and then how do we move? I think this is the whole key to life, to live our lives from vital, rhythmic pulsations. Vital, rhythmic pulsations. And then what happens in between vital, rhythmic pulsations are thought viruses that still live in our cells, our breath, and our being. And so with Jennifer, you could see she just kind of, this beautiful opening, right? It's so beautiful. I love the process of it. So let's go to Sherry and Lisa and see what they're curious about this. And for me personally, this happened on a day I was going to go to court for 3 days for a lawsuit around a real estate property. I thought about you, Jen, actually. When they were about to release the verdict, the jury literally took 21 minutes. They had hours and hours of evidence. And there was this moment I thought about you. I was standing there thinking, I'm going to give myself permission to yell and really be really happy that I win this lawsuit, I thought, why not? I'll just allow it to be. Allow the paradox to be. You're as happy as you are and as not happy as you are. And they totally found me responsible, and I totally lost the lawsuit. So I started saying, I thought, I'm not jumping in the air. I know the moment has passed. So go ahead, Lisa and Sherry. I want to see what bubbles for you around. Do you want to go to jail?
Well, actually, what came to mind, Jen, as you were sharing that, is that your work as a probation officer actually allowed you to become a witness. You witnessed different behaviors. It allowed you to have compassion. It allowed you the tools that you need to actually stand with whatever client you are and witness the energy that flows around people. I mean, it was almost like, as you said, part of your education. And I'm sure that Sherry can echo that as well, that when you're in school and somebody says, what do you want to be when you grow up? I mean, that's not really the field of that people, young children say. Like, I want to grow up and become a probation officer. Or even the fact that a child could think, like, I could grow up and become a dog trainer. I mean, it shows there's so many possibilities, and I think that's what, being beyond the formula definitely shows. Absolutely. I mean, if I look at the different things in my world and the path that led me to where I am now, I mean, it's really magical, but it's definitely not linear. It's everything but that. So I think, it's all about embracing those gifts and really honoring each part of our journey and our education. So, so that's what my thoughts are on that.
Yeah, that was beautifully said. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's also
Sherry.
all of the yes.
I'm just saying your name because I want people to realize it's the dog mystic. Sherry Marquez, the dog mystic, please. I
am Sherry Marquez, the dog mystic.
Copycat.
Adding to Lisa's wonderful response there was, it's all a learning experience with everything that you went through, being a probation officer, and you saw, I'm sure that you saw different situations where where the teenager or the child was shouldn't have been charged with wrong. With such strong. I'm sorry. I'm getting stuck on my words there.
You're having a William Shatner moment.
Yes, I guess so. So they are unlawfully accused of something, but I mean, you took every experience to move you to become an energy healer, to try and help as many people and children and teenagers as possible. So that's the beautiful thing, how it all just transformed into what you're doing today, and just to take every experience as a learning experience. So.
I just wanted to comment. I want to thank you, Sherry. Thank you, Lisa. I wanted to comment that when I first met Jennifer Rowe, and read that Qigong. Thank you, Glenn. Thank you, Subconscious. Thank you. I find Jennifer very, very congruent. I felt every time I spoke to her, I could feel settled. It was very easy to feel very settled. And I want to share with you a kind of a funny story without going into much detail. I played tennis with a guy who's probably written more books on natural health than maybe anybody in the United States. His name's Tom Monty. He's been with us before. And Tom just wrote a recent book on unexpected, I think it's called Unexpected Recoveries. And Tom travels the world, and we play tennis. And so during the summer, I went through this crisis, which I've kind of gone over a little bit. But basically, I was having this challenge with my eye, and it was a very challenging period. It was sort of like challenging to see beyond it. And yet what was interesting, and this is my meeting with Dr. Gil Randall, I realized I was beginning to see in a way that was very different than I had ever seen before. The language that I had for this 3 years prior was soul seeing. And that's how I developed this film. I'm in the middle of starting a film called The Announcement. So during this particular day, Tom said to me, Glenn, you got to go see Sharon Weissenbaum. She's a world-renowned, she's a herbalist, a Chinese herbalist. And he said to me this one line that just stuck. And he goes, I got to watch what I'm saying publicly. I know I'm going to get a phone call. I know it. I got a big mouth. So apparently what he said to me basically was that I kind of forgot we're all not having a lunch, that a lot of other people are listening right now. I got to cover myself a little bit. All right. But he basically was saying that what I'm going through is not another case of hay fever, and that this would catch your attention. And his point was interesting to me because I have a chance to read a lot about what people say about their healing and their recoveries. And in fact, I don't know, I've met upteen people that have had different kinds of healings. Well, I had the opportunity to speak to Jennifer Rowe's client who has been doing Red Hot Qigong. I did it again. That was good. Okay, Red Hot Qigong. So she calls me. It's a client of Jennifer's. She calls me up, and immediately, well, first of all, she's unusually pleasant and very open, and she began to reveal to me she had a pretty significant brain injury. And what's sort of interesting was that this was something different than hay fever. Now, listen, if you guys are suffering from hay fever, go ahead and forgive me about this, all right? I know it could be really terrible. So she began to share with me that when she first went to the neurologist's office, the neurologist really wanted to put her on some heavy medications. So we got two things going on. One, we have a condition, and then we have the treatment of the condition, which for a lot of people either adds another trauma, or it could add, as an example, medications. And so basically for the next 45 minutes, Ali shared with me what it was like to work with Jennifer, and it really spoke to me in this other whole way. And I realized it surprised me, and what surprised me about Jennifer was that when you work with people with Red Hat Qigong, that was much smoother, that you really work with conditions. Like that to me was a fairly, I don't know, that was a very strong thing. She had a brain injury. It was going to impact her whole career. She's a fairly young mom. She's a 5-year-old. So I was very struck about that. As a matter of fact, I said to you that I want to have her on because I actually felt that what she had to share was so beyond the formula that she'd gone to the clinic, she'd gone to the neurologist, and what she felt with you was a new beginning and a new trust of her body. She said to me she feels deeper in her body. What an interesting comment. She's deeper in her body now, and she feels a level of root that she hadn't felt before. And so in some sense, speaking to her was a very beautiful, and I did everything, by the way, to turn her away from telling me, although I know it's traumatic, she began to tell me how this occurred. And so it wasn't just a physical trauma. There were several other traumas that had happened to her. And I was so grateful because the beyond the formula part of it was it takes courage and deep trust to take a non-conventional path. In my life as a non-conventional person, the consequences are strong because people always want to bring you back to the formula, sometimes really harshly. All right, I want to get your guys' comment. Jennifer?
Oh.
Sorry. So we're gonna, yeah, no. Actually, Chris told me he was going to play music every time he spoke today. Thank you, Chris.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, he says he said that woman's voice deserves music. That's what he said. You're listening to the Vibrant Living Network. Your life's precious. Enjoy it, along with Lisa LaRose and Sherry Marquez, the dog mystic. We're going to share a special exercise today too. How to be in deep tune with your dog in a moment. Your life's precious. I'm going to say it twice. Your life's precious. Enjoy it. Stay with us.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Conflict comes in many forms and often triggers a fight-or-flight response. Some of us gravitate toward conflict, while many will stop at little to nothing to avoid it. Unfortunately, what we resist will persist, which often forces us to face our fear and deal with it head-on. Join me during my show, Conflict Rising, as I discuss the important role of conflict with leaders who have moved through it successfully. Tune in Thursdays at 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Remember, it's always darkest before the dawn.
Opiates has taken everything and everyone I've ever loved away from me. Everything.
I blew my ankle out and I got prescribed pain pills by my doctor.
If making my detox public is going to help somebody, I'm all for it. So I just wish I would have had a warning.
Opioid dependence can happen after just 5 days. Know the truth, spread the truth. A message from Truth, the Ad Council, and ONDCP.
Hello, I'm Glenn Brooks, Vibrant Living Network. Wonderful tuning into you guys. I'm hearing him. I listen to the audience. I'm listening to you guys. This is really a way of life, by the way. And as I make this film, which I'm going to share with you a lot more, we're going to do a very unique cast call. I'm going to give you one cast call today. I'm looking for couples along my Vibrant Living team. We're still figuring out also the question, what planet is Lisa LaRose from? It's upcoming. Sherry Marquez, the Deep Tune exercise. How to be in deep tune with your dog. Jennifer Rowe. Red Hat Qigong, my fifth non-dyslexic moment. Saying the name. Okay, my cast call today is, this is a scene in the film. And so what I'm looking for is, this is a national call out. I'm looking for people who've done this thing called divorce, separation, and you've remarried your partner. You've remarried your partner, and this is a part of the film that has to deal with shifting perceptions and going beyond the local mind. And it's all story, but that's what I'm looking for. So if you have remarried your partner, and it's been the best things ever, even though your mother-in-law, your friend, your therapist, the cause of your divorce is family, friends, and therapists, and that's right, healers. I thought about that 2 weeks, and I said, that's pretty dang true. All right, so if you guys have been in that position, I'd love to hear from you. For this part of the film, we're filming in various parts of the country. I'd love to hear from you. 413-345. The movie is The Announcement. 413-345-3747. Well, I know that I'm going to see Jen soon and have a Red Hat Qigong session. She's probably going to be our next speaker's event. I'm negotiating with Vermont. We have 2 events before Carnegie Hall, 2 events. I'm going to take a whole bunch of brave people to do things I do, like hang out with martial art masters, do improv. I'm going to have people doing improv at Central Park because the improv never stops. We're going to do stuff that I promise you're going to feel so different in how you touch and move and breathe and speak from. It's going to be our Vibrant Living speakers event coming to Carnegie Hall. So, and everybody who's made fun of you, told you wouldn't amount to anything. You know, I did a co-show with this guy. What's his name? Gary. Still in the air. Gary. I always thought he had such a boring format, but finance isn't my thing. People would laugh and say, no, it's not, Glenn. And he had a big Lincoln Continental in front of the station. And I can never understand Lincoln Continentals. I just couldn't get it. I don't understand cumbersome cars. You know, I drive a 5-speed. So I said to him one day, I said, Gary, why do you drive that big gas guzzler? And he goes, that car? He's in his 40s then. And he says, yeah. He goes, that's to get even with my kindergarten teacher. He goes, every time I drive through her neighborhood so she could see I actually made it in life. True story. All right. Jennifer, did you want to make one more comment? I want to invite the dog mystic, Sherry Marquez, to give us this exercise that is a continuation of an exercise that I thought was pretty dang powerful. Say hello to Gus for me. I owe him a little money from poker, but do send him my love. I feel his vibe right now.
And he feels yours.
That was so good. That was so good. God, I see you being a professional speaker. You want to leave us one more? Go ahead and leave us with your website.
Okay.
Leave us with your website.
Yeah, I was sitting, with what you were saying, and it's just so interesting with just sometimes, a lot of times, like there's a place for everything, and I think a lot of answers that people need is like integration of medicine, right? But when you go to a doctor and they're telling you the only way that we can help you is by you taking these pills for the rest of your life, but, whatever that's going to mean. Sometimes I feel like it's what you've mentioned to me before, but it like puts this, like, it's almost like this transference to where it's like you immediately succumb to what this doctor is saying and you maybe put yourself behind bars. But for, people to really be open and strong and come to see, someone like me for energy healing and not really knowing all the time what they're getting into is a pretty powerful thing. And it's just, especially with an initial session, it's so much about establishing trust and about establishing connection, because when someone is in that place with you and you can get them to access that chi and help them get to a place where they let those walls down, they allow themselves to be vulnerable, and that opens up the possibility of healing when that flow occurs, and it opens up that possibility of, the energetics of releasing that which is fogging them, bogging them down, whatever. But it's being willing to step out of, that traditional setting of what you're being told to do. And it does take a lot of strength, but the reality is a lot of times that there's a lot of beauty on the other side of that. So
the other thing I wanted to comment, as Sherry is in the holding block doing jumping jacks and serious chronic exercises as we're speaking, is when I went through, what I thought at the time was my greatest crisis ever, my beloved Donna, someone I'd been with many, many years, were in the middle of a relational tsunami. It was hard to see the gifts. But what I did notice was I had a lot of heat. I didn't know how heated I was. I was heated. I felt like I was just sort of at the edge of I could feel my skin. I felt very unsettled. And I could see, I could see it would take me hours at night to kind of let that heat. It was summer nights. And so it's interesting. So I was telling Jennifer two things. So one was I had this really intense red spot under my eye. And I was also, the first time in my life, incredibly embarrassed about it. I was very self-conscious of it. I kind of felt it made me noticeable. I didn't want to be noticeable then, right? So I'm going to the tire store, and I'm waiting to talk to the lady at the tire place. And she pauses, and she looks at me, and she goes, "That mark under your eye." And I'm thinking, don't look at the mark under my eye. Don't look at that mark under my eye. And she goes, "That's as cute as a button." So she healed me for about 10 days with that. And then I started to do water practices. I started to go to places where there was water. And so I want to say that what's so beautiful about this stuff is that although not recognized, and it's ancient science, and that's the interesting thing. So dispersing heat is a big deal. Dispersing heat is a gift, and it'll help you feel different in the situation. So I wanted to acknowledge that about Red Hot Qigong, Jennifer Rowe. We got our dog mystic. You guys ready to be in deep touch with your dog on a mystical level, that you could feel the dog, sense the dog, in a way that actually is probably why you got the dog. You wanted the dog to open your life and your world to a deeper connection. We have 100 people are making guesses of what planet you're from, Lisa. I just want to give you an update, by the way, on that. So here we are. You gave an exercise last week about being in deep touch with your dog, Sherry. Sherry Marquez, the dog mystic, the seminar leader, forthcoming bestseller. I just blessed you with that one.
Beautiful. Love it. Keep it going. Keep it going.
Kind of reminds me that the days when people would say, "Mr. Brooks," and I'd be thinking, "Yeah, just tell me to leave the room. I get it. You don't got to say anything more. I could just leave. I have my own books anyway." So you were talking about eating with your dog, and I just thought to myself, that was just, I don't know, something struck me that it was ordinary and extraordinary and mystical, because a lot of times we kind of ignore our dogs except for certain moments, right? And part of what you're saying in your beautiful message is that the dog is an opportunity to pay attention, to sense this experience of flow, which the dog usually lives in. And when you reprimand the dog and kind of are suppressive with the dog, it's more about that you're feeling strained, and the dog's just kind of living in this moment-to-moment awareness. And as my friend's book title says, Crazy People, Crazy Dogs. So let's revisit what you shared last week about eating with your dog. I just enjoyed it, and I think it's another exercise, a practical, mystical dog exercise that puts you in deep touch with your dog.
Well, thank you very much. And yes, so last week, in regards to eating with your dog, or just like watching your dog eat, is just being in the here and now, and being in the here and now, and letting it happen. You know what I'm saying? So you're actually taking the time. Just it could be 1 minute, it could be 3 minutes, it could be 5 minutes, and just like just being aware and observant, just more or less, you can take the time to watch your dog. You can take the time to be aware of how you eat. So if you do eat fast, then you can be fully aware of slowing down and enjoying. And another thing that I explained about last week is more or less, you have to be in the here and now and go with the flow, because as much as as much as I try to know exactly what's going to happen in a dog training lesson, you can't predict it. Like, you can't have any predictions, and you have to just go with the flow. So that's what dogs are all about. They're in the here and now, and they just go with the flow. And the beautiful things about dogs are they don't have guilt. Like, they don't have a blame. Like, if something happens, then they're not gonna remember every single thing that happened and be mad at you for like a week later. Like, we humans, we hold grudges, and they don't hold grudges whatsoever. So I just want to just give some information on the dogs and being in the here and now, and enjoying the moments that you have, and whatever you're doing, just take the time for being aware of the present moment instead of in the past or in the future. The training of a dog is extremely important, because if the dog has too much freedom and has the rule of the rule of the house and can do whatever they want, then of course they're going to be taking advantage of that, and like, a dog is part of nature, Mother Nature, which means he or she is naturally wired to expect order in his life, in his or her life. To expect that, he must work for the food and water and have structure in their lives. If you as the owner do not show the dog that you are the pack leader, and it's not about dominance, it's not about dominating the dog, but it's just about being the pack leader, to show the dog what's right and what's wrong. And then they will try their best, no matter what, to show you that they are more dominant. And you cannot put all of your needed emotions into your dog or dogs. Their psychology is just like a child. And if they know they can get away with something, they're going to push it for everything that they can. So,
all right. What I want to do, Sherry, in a moment. Should I share with the audience? You know how people pick up cards or they read the card? I just picked up a giveaway book. So you think I should read to the audience what I just picked up? This is a book that's on the giveaway pile. I'm by like a yard right now. Should I read it to everybody? Here we go.
Sure.
You said yes on some level. I know it. So it said, God is my broker. A monk tycoon reveals the 7.5 laws of spiritual and financial growth by Brother Ty. So I just wanted to say I picked that up. I want to make a special announcement. So starting in, it looks like December, we'll be in OMTimes magazine regularly with the Vibrant Living Spotlight. The Vibrant Living Spotlight. We'll go out to over 1 million people, and we'll invite you guys to be part of the Vibrant Living Spotlight, to be part of our team. Vibrant Living Spotlight coming up. So if you want to be a speaker and you want to, be a leader and reach new people and do it as a dojo, do it in practice with other people. Vibrant Living Spotlight's coming up. Can you give me a call about that? All right, I want to open this up to, if many of you guys have figured what Lisa Lewis' planet she's from. She walks around with many, many dogs. I don't know, sometimes 14, sometimes more. I hear them all times of day and night when I speak to Lisa. So what do you Lisa, in terms of this exercise with eating with your dogs, I'm sorry, I gave you the plural. What's your take on the exercise?
Well, I really applaud you, Sue, because every time I listen to you, it reminds me how valuable it is to be in the present moment and to really be conscious of what's going on around us. And, you know, my dogs, you know, it's interesting when you have a larger pack because there's a dynamic. In my pack, they eat at different times, but, you know, when it's dinner time, they do come out. And the bigger dogs tend to, you know, voraciously want to eat their food. And it's interesting because the little dogs will, you know, basically tell them, you know what, slow down.
Really?
You know, and they have their own little dynamic. We probably have 10 different plates of different things on their plates, and you know they have little nibbles and whatnot. So when you were telling me that story, my dogs will none of them will overeat, which is really interesting. I can have food out for them all day, and they won't touch it. But when it's dinner time and when I'm present, and you know the one Miss P, my little princess, you know she likes me to pay attention. She will not eat unless I am actually watching her and making sure that she's getting what she needs. And I think it's, you know, when you share that with me, and it makes me think about, you know, when you're in a meal with somebody at dinner, you know, don't be on your phone, don't be texting, be present with that person. Enjoy the conversation, enjoy the time that we have, like even the time that we have with each other on the air. You know, and you learn the different nuances, and you take those little nuggets and you share them with other people throughout the day. And it's amazing how profound, you know, just the simplest things, you know, you have an opportunity to share with a stranger. And Glenn, you know, the other night, it took a car breaking down. My partner's car actually broke down, and the steering fluid, it was a really interesting metaphor, like the line broke in the car, so he couldn't steer the car. So he was forced to actually break down in a gas station, which couldn't have been a better blessing. And there was a young man in this gas station who was from India and had a tattoo on his arm. And it was, he had some writing in Sanskrit. And I asked him, I said, what does that mean? And he shared with me that it was a Brahmin mantra all about bringing joy and prosperity and peace into your life. And he said he listens to it all the time, and he's at his job for 12 hours a day, and how he interacts with people, it's all about, you know, he said, I love my customers. I love the people that come in with me because I'm present with them. And so here you go. You were part of any of the stuff that you're bringing that teaching right back to us. So thank you, you know, sharing
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So
that is.
Thank you, Lisa. I was just reflecting on what you said about the princess and the cycles of the dogs. That was I realized some of this stuff is it's sort of beautifully ordinary, but so beautifully insightful and wondrous. All right. The owner of Gus, are you in the audience? The owner of Gus.
I am.
I guess he's a professional healer, and he's hired you to drive him around to healing appointments. What would you say?
He has.
What does it resonate when you hear about this?
I have a couple of comments.
Okay.
One of which is it's really hard to be present with Gus when he's eating because you have about 28 seconds before his bowl of food is gone. Because he's a Labrador, and he's very focused on his eating. Anyway, on the other side of that is when we are eating, he loves to be around the table and be part of that process because he really, you know, wants to see what falls onto the ground. And so we really have to work a lot on Gus. We are not baking tonight. We are not baking today. And so he will lay down and just pretend he's not baking and wait for more to drop. But what I would like to, you know, I guess comment on too is, you know, I don't have a bunch of animals. I have Gus, but I do have two boys, and you know, he's obviously part of our pack. And what's really funny to watch is I'm definitely his alpha, you know, so when we are all hanging out, we are going out and doing things, you know, he listens to me. He'll drop the ball for me. He'll do all this, but he clearly looks at both of my boys as brothers or equals, because whatever they want him to do, he runs, he makes it a game, and they're like, Mom, you know, drop the ball. And then I say drop, and he does, but I'm the one that has to say it because they definitely are not his alpha. So it's just really interesting to watch, you know, the dogs and Gus and the pack mentality. You know, I think it's a very powerful thing for them. Yeah.
Well, the important thing with the with your kids though, if they're trying to give him a command, and then they yell to you to make him do it. Come on.
Yeah, and exactly.
Then of course, Gus is going to be like, ha, I don't have to do you guys. Ask him for the mom. I don't know you know.
You just dropped to level D. You were fine. Yeah.
So the important thing there though is trying to get the boys to follow through on whatever commands that they're giving to Gus, because even if Gus is being extremely dominant and doesn't want to give up the ball or doesn't want to sit or whatever, even if it takes a half hour, it doesn't matter. At least they're following through and making him do it, because you know then Gus will have more respect for them and have to know that he has to listen to them as well as with you. You know, especially if you guys are not, or if you're not with Gus and the boys are with him, then at least they know they have that he'll listen at times. You know,
and that makes sense. That makes sense. And I do think he listens to them more when I'm not there. And I don't know if that's like a switch of roles in the pack or how that works, but
interesting.
Yeah, but that's good to know. Thank you.
I want to thank Bernard McFadden. Thank you, Jennifer, Rose, Lisa LaRose, Sherry. I want to thank Bernard McFadden. He was the world's biggest publisher in the 40s, 50s. And I just want to say his work is just resonating so deep in a time where the pioneers in the field of health and well-being. This is way before there's bodybuilding. They call those people physical culturists, and it was a beyond the formula time. People lived this as a lifestyle, and then we didn't know about this time. McFadden was during the Depression. He owned a series of restaurants where he charged a penny for fresh raw juices. So what I enjoy doing is kind of finding the hidden history of something. So I did a series on the hidden history of real food, and it was incredible. So I'm going to open up to the panel. How did we buy into processed food? What was the first change in language? So what was the first product that shifted people away from real food? It's kind of a $100,000 question. Lisa LaRose has been studying the answer for weeks now. Sherry and Jennifer. What was the first product?
Comes to my mind is
what? Oh, interesting. Yeah. That's a good guess. Actually. That's a good guess. Well, this product name was so good. So this is how there's two in the language, because we language our life. I told you guys before that the world's greatest, I think, coach on sports performance. He would teach his guys for a year never to say have to, because have to would totally lock them up. So there's two things that the processed food industry and Big Pharma did. I think they're married, the Big Pharma. But I'm going to blow you guys. We have a new doctor coming on for a series that's going to, oh my God, just really stretch you about what's really possible with healing and homeopathy. And wow, you're going to love him. And our new series on the healing power of homeopathy. So what two, in languaging and words, what were the two? There was one company that called the product, and it changed the whole history of bread. Up until then, everybody knew bread was, what was the name of the product?
Wonder Bread.
Wonder Bread?
Exactly. Wonder Bread was a total, that was it. When America heard Wonder Bread, that was it. Other bread didn't exist. And the other thing they tricked us with, and someone said it was kind of like coming up to you. You're sitting in your Rolls Royce, right? You're on your beautiful horse, and they basically came up with this enriched. It's better because it's enriched. So that languaging changed. That became the new formula. And then people, that was it. Wonder Bread, goodbye to the fiber. Even though in Africa they have, you know, the way they had fiber, they weren't getting colon cancer. But Wonder Bread came on the scene and then enriched. Okay. So, Sherry, go ahead. I don't know why. I just wanted to get into it. I want to thank my beloved non-physical mentor, Bernard McFadden. Wow, what an amazing, being the world's greatest publisher. He did stuff for the world that was out of this world. What a character. All right. Sherry, go ahead and give out the Dog Mystics. Anything you want to share about how to be in touch with the Dog Mystic? Or people want you. This is a beautiful exercise. I hope you have it printed somewhere when people take their exhales and hold their heart on your website. If you don't, I'd love you to do it, because and I know it's going to be in the book, but it's very powerful.
Yes, it's going. Yes. It is very powerful, and yes. I need to add it to my website for sure. But my website is
yes.
smartpawsdogtraining.com. And on Facebook, it's Smart Paws Dog Training. On Instagram, I believe it's Dog Mystic Academy, actually. On Instagram, it's Dog Mystic Academy. So
we got to get you all unified, don't we? We got to get you all into the Dog Mystic.
Yes, of course.
Somehow.
Yeah,
we're going to do that with your book.
Step by step. And I'm allowing the process to unfold day by day. Good. But I mean, just saying that I am the Dog Mystic is so beautiful. I love it.
Good. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Have a blessed day. I'm Glenn Brooks for the Vibrant Living Network. And thank you, Chris.
Have a wonderful day.
I'm announcing the new our mini publication in OMTimes magazine, Vibrant Living Spotlight. I'm Glenn Brooks, your life's precious and joy. Thank you.
Enjoy.